Crew, we are only 3 days away until toe meets leather in Atlanta for South Carolina versus Virginia Tech and the season opener. I am Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And we had our first Shane Beamer and player press conference of the year before a game in a game week. Delayed a day because they're doing their schedule a little different. But I think now, after hearing them speak, going home myself and watching a bunch of Virginia Tech film, I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Was the air a little different in the media room yesterday? Could you feel a little something? Was it not camp air anymore? Was it game week air in there?
A lot of different.
Little electricity in the building.
I felt a lot of different. I got all tingly talking about Virginia Tech in there, talking about an actual game. Like camp battles and all that good stuff is one thing. But we got to talk ball. Like a game. Get prepared for a football game.
How was Shane's temperament?
Upbeat. I think he feels comfortable. And the more I watch Virginia Tech from last year and try to study the roster, which again, we'll hear from Shane Beamer here in just a second here in this segment. Very difficult to prepare for because almost every major contributor on the team from last year on offense that's not Kyron Drones, gone. Defensively, outside of the two linebackers, gone. Their secondary wasn't any good. But anytime they made a good defensive play, I'd try to note it, and I'd be like, that was made by, not applicable. Not applicable. That was the theme for a lot of it. So Virginia Tech is a big, fun mystery.
And the idea of a big, fun mystery, can I pull back the curtain a little bit, break the fourth wall a little bit here?
I love when we do that.
All right, cool.
Yes.
So you've discovered a concept called week one-iness.
Yes.
I believe on Tuesday when we stumbled upon this concept. Now, the week one-iness is things that can just go wonky in week one because it's week one, right? Things can happen. Just because you have done something a lot doesn't mean that on week one-iness can come into play. And this morning, we came into the studio, and week one-iness was upon us.
We are not immune from week one-iness.
We had to make phone calls. We had to find batteries. We had to disconnect things. We had to pull things together, all for us to get. And we do this show every day.
Every day.
Every day we do this show. But week one-iness can strike at any moment. And that's only thing that I'm keep telling y'all, that I think South Carolina is a better team. Almost probably in every phase of the game except maybe the kicking game, that which we have really no idea what it is.
I went through that checklist mentally after
the old Madden checklist.
The old Madden checklist. The only thing I could get to was special teams in the linebacking room. The linebacking room, if Caleb Woodson is allowed to play. If Caleb Woodson is not allowed to play, I think it's a wash.
Good call. Yes, and so I firmly believe that. However, I do also believe in week one-iness. And weird things happening, and travel constituencies, and everybody's going to be stressed to the gills until kickoff time actually happens. Very similar to how this thing played out before 6 o'clock. It's like, hi, I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. And you got to do that. So that's just
collect myself.
That's just the idea of what happens, and it happens every game pretty much. Like, you've been on the sidelines for games. If you've never been on the sideline, it is chaos of people pulling their hair out just so that a team can just so that 11 dudes can get on the field at any given time. Jen, you've seen it from up top. You just see the sort of like the ants just marching around. Everybody's taking orders, and people are going all these places. I say all that to say I firmly believe that South Carolina is a better team. Just watch out for week one-iness.
Yeah, that's the thing. The week one-iness is the mystery, and it happens to at least one team a year where they grossly underperform in week one. Sometimes you survive, sometimes you don't. And last year, South Carolina was fortunate enough to be able to survive their week one-iness. If you need any example as to how different a team can look in week one compared to the final week of the season, the 2024 South Carolina Gamecocks were the perfect example, because that Old Dominion game reeked of week one-iness. Absolutely reeked of week one-iness. And then you throw in the element of that, hour-long delay, made the conditions perfectly ripe for week one-iness. Now, thankfully, we don't have to worry about a weather delay inside a dome.
Correct.
That part is nice. But what happens in the operational standpoint to avoid week one-iness? That's the big question for South Carolina, because I think we're all really in agreement that if they take care of business, the operation runs smoothly, they should beat Virginia Tech on Saturday. They are the better football team, and I genuinely believe that the more I watch their returning players from last year. Now, I think Virginia Tech can be one of those teams that 5-6 weeks into the season really gets it together and ends up pulling out an 8-win season.
Yeah, it might be one of those things where you look back on this win and this becomes a quality win or a better quality win.
That's what you're hoping for.
You're hoping,
yeah.
right? You're hoping that as the season goes along, you want the opposite of what happened to Georgia Tech last year. Where Georgia Tech, we was like, oh, man, that's a big win. They beat Florida State. Sorry, Florida State listeners. And then we found out maybe not as big a win as we thought it was.
Oh, it's like, oh, you beat Florida State? Well, join the club. Get in line because that line is 10 deep, brother. Right. That line is 10 deep right now. Florida State was the Village Bicycle in the ACC last season. Hopefully that's not the case with Virginia Tech. Hopefully you can beat Virginia Tech on Sunday. And then once you get into the season, you realize, oh, these guys are pretty good. And then that could be a resume boosting win towards the end of the season.
Right.
But you got to get past the week one-iness. How is Shane Beamer preparing for week one-iness? This will be cut number 2. I asked him how to prepare for this Virginia Tech team because the offensive line, nothing but transfers. Wide receiving room, really only one real contributor coming back. The running back room, almost all transfers. And don't get me started on what's happening defensively up front in terms of the amount of transfers they have. Here's how Coach Beamer is preparing for week 1.
But it'll be exciting to play against a team that we have a history with as well, and a good football team. This is a team that, in my opinion, last season was much better than their record. If you go back and look at last season, they had 2 3-point losses and a 4-point loss. And I think everybody was watching the Miami game, which I think was one of our off weekends, when they had a really, really controversial finish to that game that easily could have been a win, had a 3-touchdown lead against Syracuse, and they weren't able to hang on that one. So 2 7-point losses, I believe, a 4-point loss, and 2 3-point losses. And they're on the other side of those. They're a player or two away from being a 9-3 team. And this is a top 15 matchup because of the players they have coming back as well. They dealt with some injuries last season, very similar to what we were in 2023 with some of the injuries and close losses that we had. They got really good players on all 3 phases. They're very well coached. I don't think enough people are talking about Kyron Drones, the quarterback. He's a heck of a talent, and he can make all the throws. He reminds me a lot of Lenoris and his ability to run the ball. He's a quarterback that's able to run the ball, but he's not shying away from contact. I mean, he has a play against Old Dominion last year where he breaks it off for 60 and he's trying to run over people, and defenders are just bouncing off of him. So he makes our offense go, and will be a big challenge for us on Sunday. And then, like I said, well coached, got a ton of respect for Brent Pry. I think the world of him. He was a graduate assistant coach when I was a player at Virginia Tech, and he gets Virginia Tech. And it's real and genuine with him, his love of Virginia Tech, his appreciation for my dad, the kind of person he is. And certainly he's doing a great job with that program, and somebody that I got a lot of respect for. And we're looking forward to competing on Sunday.
Speaking of week one-iness, there were 2 very similar cuts in there. I read them backwards.
It could happen. It could happen this week one-iness.
It's everywhere. It's a plague. It's a plague, and we're not immune to it. But that was him in the opening statement.
There was some really interesting things in that statement. Really quickly, let me address that. I appreciate and understand exactly what Shane's saying is how, teams, sometimes the record doesn't necessarily show what the team is. And when you go back in the film, you might watch and say, man, they might have been a little better than I thought they were. However, I will stand on the hill of you are what your record says you are. You can play close games all you want, but you have to win those games.
More Bill Parcells adages.
Yeah, I have to stand on that, because if that's the same case, we could say, well, this South Carolina team, they could have won 1 or 2 more games, and they could have been here or there. We can't deal with that. So I do understand and appreciate it, but I don't go for that. They lost those games. If they were a good team, they would have won those games, and they didn't.
And so that was him in his opening statement scouting Virginia Tech. When I had the opportunity to ask him a question, I wanted to ask about how you prepare for a team that has all of those differences, that had everything that he laid out there, but also has so many differences in the roster from last year to this year at every single position group. Here was his response.
Yeah, it's that's what's hard about game one. I mean, I have like my own process during the week where if you ask me on a normal week, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at whatever time, 9 a.m., 9:40, 10:20, 11:30, 2 p.m., I can tell you exactly what I'm doing between now and the Clemson game, just because it's such a routine every day during the week. But game ones, you get a little bit off because when you're trying to get a feel, unfortunately it's game one, we've had the summertime to do this, but when you're trying to get a feel for their personnel, you're not just watching Virginia Tech. So I spent most of my time on Monday morning watching Texas State, because that's where their best pass rusher just transferred from, and watching a cut up of him, or watching Hawaii because one of their defensive backs just transferred from Hawaii, or watching Rice because their starting safety just transferred from Rice. Offensively, watching a whole lot of West Virginia because they've had players that have transferred in from West Virginia. Watching Wake Forest because one of their top receivers just came from Wake Forest. Watching Tennessee because they got a receiver that's going to probably start for them that came from Tennessee. But then they've also changed numbers. So it's he wears whatever number he wore at the previous school, he's going to be this number. So you're trying to find him on the video. Not to mention you got guys at Virginia Tech, 26 for them is now wearing 0 this year. So it's a lot. And I laugh, but I mean it's serious. It's a lot of just watching other people and trying to get a feel for their personnel, trying to project how they're going to use them within their system. And then you also add the challenge of 2 new coordinators, offensively and defensively, that weren't in college football last year. So we're, it's a lot. You got to be careful that you're not chasing and trying to prepare for everything and then you're not good at anything. That's a big challenge in the first game for sure. So we got to make sure that, we have a good feel for their personnel, but it's always about us though. And I don't mean that any disrespect to Virginia Tech. It's always about us, like what we're doing schematically, how we play and whatnot. But you also, like any opponent, you want to have a good feel for that opponent, their personnel and their schemes.
Preparing for everything, but maybe being not good at anything was one of my biggest takeaways there, because that's a lot. That's so much extra film you have to be able to crunch in the weeks leading up to it. Now, thankfully, you have weeks leading up to it where the coaching staff can prepare for that. But at the end of the day, there is still an element of having to do what you do best and execute the things that you do in a normal game plan to be able to get this win.
Yeah, so in the football coaching world, they call this chasing ghost. And what it means is that you have this preponderance of film. You have all these different films where a team has done 20 different things on offense. And so you're trying to prepare for all of them. And then all of a sudden you end up not preparing for any of them because your attention has been scattered everywhere. And sometimes we used to have a coach on staff and he'd be like, well, there was this one time back in 97 when they did this. It's like, all right, maybe, but do we need to prepare for that right now? Do we need to waste our valuable time preparing for something that they may only do a couple of times or trying to figure out? So you have to get their main concepts in the books. You figure out who they mainly are. Coordinators don't really change their stripes that much. So you watch their old opponents and you go from there. And what he said is you just prepare yourself, do what you do well, and then you let everything else take care of itself, because at this point in the season there's so much data that you don't want to be drowning in information. And then you have your players playing slow. It's their first game. Week 1 in this could strike. Give them a simple game plan, look for a couple of things, and let's go ball.
Playing slow is probably – and playing slow and playing paralyzed with all the analysis you have to consume and go through.
Think about it like your computer.
Yeah.
You might have players out there playing with too many tabs open, and all of a sudden it's
like my computer.
It's just a little bit slower, right? It's like, well, what if they do this? But what if they come out in 3? What if they come out in 12 personnel? But then it's 14 personnel, and then sometimes they come out in 14 personnel, and they run a ghost motion. It's too much. Give them a couple of things, let them go run, let their talents take over. Again, because you are the better team.
Yeah, and that's where being the better team is going to be able to come into play. We also got an answer on depth charts yesterday, and the answer will not be satisfactory. 2-1 Preston Thorne. We will play that clip coming up on the other side as you're listening to the early game.
Hey guys, feeling like you lost your edge? Maybe brain fog's got you struggling? Are you working out and not seeing the results that you used to? Well, there's a real reason you're not feeling like yourself, and it might be low testosterone. But you don't just have to live with it. You can reclaim your drive, your energy, and your focus at the men's clinic. Dr. Dan Boaknight, a respected local physician, will get to the bottom of it, and this isn't some faceless online program. Dr. Boaknight personally tailors your treatment program based on your labs and your systems. At the men's clinic, you'll find a non-threatening, comfortable environment that's open to hearing your concerns. And here's the best part. Your initial consultation, absolutely free. Dr. Boaknight will give you a T-level check so you have nothing to lose and you have everything to gain. So don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or you can find them online at mensclinicsc.com. Find them online at mensclinicsc.com.
Crystal Springs Drive between Windywood Road and Edmond Highway. We do have a report of an accident. Also, one more to make you aware of, Spears Creek Church Road near I-20. 85, that'll be our high today. Actually, 88 tomorrow. And then just a chance for some showers over the weekend, highs in the low 80s. Your Labor Day, looking for a mix of clouds and sun, and 82. Right now, though, starting the morning off, a little more fall-ish. It's 63 on 107.5 The Game.
We've been clamoring for it. Preston Thorne has been frothing at the mouth, ready for a depth chart. Well, when Shane Beamer spoke yesterday at the pre-Virginia Tech press conference, he was asked, will we get a gift? Will we get the manna from the heavens, known as a preseason depth chart? Here was Coach Beamer's response.
You'll piece it together. And again, I've got respect for y'all, and I understand you have a job to do, and it's not trying to be any kind of gamesmanship. I called Brent Pry last week, and I told Brent Pry that I was not going to release a depth chart this week because I didn't want him to release one, and then we don't release one, and he's like, what the heck? So I called him last week to tell him that I was not releasing a depth chart. It's not any kind of trying to keep secrets from Virginia Tech. To be totally honest, hell, I'm just trying to avoid unnecessary overreactions, which is what a depth chart is when it comes out. I mean, we still got position battles going on out there on the practice field. And if I had released a depth chart, it was going to have a gazillion ands and ors on there because that very much is the case at a lot of those positions. So again, I'm respectful of the job that you guys have, and I'm not trying to make things more difficult on you guys, but that's what I was just trying to avoid as I looked at what's best for our team right now. It was not putting anything out on paper. I'm not sure what we'll do on Sunday leading up to the game. I can tell you I think we do it with about 28 minutes left on the clock in pregame warmups. The first offense will come together and run plays against the first defense. So that'll be a great look at it. That gives you a 28-minute head start before kickoff. And then after that, we go down and we kick an extra point. So you'll see our starting snapper, holder, kicker at that point. And then we turn around and we punt. So you'll see the starting snapper, punter, and we punt to the starting punt returner. So you'll be able to knock that off before kickoff as well. And I'm not trying to be a smart, that's truly what's going to happen as well if we don't put anything out before then. But Steve and I will talk about it. But Dabo and Kirby didn't put a depth chart out before this game last year. Everybody survived, the players, the coaches, the teams, the fans, the media, and I'm sure this year will be no different with us as well.
So no depth chart. No depth chart.
Preston,
but we will
it just
know.
looks like a deer in the headlights. Like, what?
I'm disappointed.
So you'll be getting a text 28 minutes before kickoff. Who is on the field for the offense and the defense, and who is kicking? That will be there. That will then be our depth chart. We will get it, at least the ones, 28 minutes until kickoff.
Well, yeah, you have to put your depth chart with your roster, then you have to match names and numbers. You're gonna have to figure some things out, but we'll be able to piece it together. It's fine.
Sounds like I'll be bringing a highlighter to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and printing out a roster and just.
And actually, that's what I was going to say, is we'll be getting a text from Elijah because he will supply that information to us. He will be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I will be in the house, and I'll make sure I am there. We can get there pretty early because I like to eat beforehand, and the food is free. So I like to eat beforehand, and then I do like to watch warm-ups. So I'll just have to remember that at the 28-minute mark when they do their little run-through, those will be the ones. So I'll just, take my little highlighter out and just... That's me filling out the page with highlights. So, Preston Thorne, you will just have to wait, I guess, until we get it.
It's fine. I'll just continuously to recklessly speculate until I get information. No problem.
I have no problem continuing to do this.
No problem. Reckless speculation. Here we go. Shed Surratt. Watch him to be starting. That's where some place I would look. Another place where you're going to try and figure out is who's going to be the first group of wide receivers to go out there. Do they go out there with only 2 wide receivers? Do they go out there with 4 wide receivers? Maybe that gives a hint into the type of personnel that they're looking. I can speculate with the best of them, so it's no problem. I would like to call the idea of the kids would say cap on the concept of there still being position battles on Thursday going into game week. I don't believe that.
Say that's cap.
I don't believe that's true. And if I do think that's true, I do feel like that's probably not the best of news.
Before we get to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, because Rodney is on the line, he did say, I didn't want to not put out a depth chart, and then Virginia Tech put out a depth chart and be like, hey, WTF is going on with, the depth chart thing. Virginia Tech anyway, one day ago, Andy Bitter tweets out a paper depth chart for Virginia Tech and says,
respect.
He goes, believe me when I tell you, I'm shocked that the Hokies put out a depth chart for the opener. And then later in the day, when Jordan Kay tweets out the quote that we just heard, he goes, now I'm even more surprised the Hokies put one out. So Virginia Tech might be worth looking at. So there is a little depth chart. I don't even know if Shane didn't say that it was gamesmanship, but there won't be one for South Carolina on their side. Now we'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Rodney has been waiting patiently. Rodney, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
Hey, I'm making it on my way to work. Check this out. I ain't gonna keep it. Let me. This is my opinion, guys. This is comical, really. A more confident, mature coach would have said this: my offensive line is A, my quarterback is B, my receivers are D, my DBs are and we ready to play. Let's go smash. I get so tired of, man, we being the dog that smells other dogs' butt. Who cares what Dabo and who cares what Dabo and Kirby Smart does, man? Let's be different. I guarantee you Spurrier didn't say, well, I need to wait. I need to watch and see what Mark Richt gonna do. Nick Saban gonna do. Or any other coach, man. Who cares? We coming to show up to ATL and we're gonna smash Virginia Tech. This is my offensive line. This is my quarterback, and this is that. All these little head games, man. That's what first-year coaches do. Look, those vibes, man. Get out of here. Let's get confidence. We got this. Not only you heard what the other coach said. It sounded like he wanted to cuss. Cause he ready to play ball. He ready to play ball, man. Show me your piece, and I'm gonna show you my piece, and let's show up and play some ball, man. All this name dropping stuff, what Clemson do and what Georgia do. Man, we should be smashing them on a regular. Who cares what they do, man? We're University of South Carolina. Let's go.
Oh, I love the energy. All right. Give it up for Rodney.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
That was good.
Early
He
game.
needs to be right there in the huddle.
Early contestant for winner. Rodney with the call this morning.
Very early contestant for winner. Rodney is tired of being the dog that smells other dogs' butt. That is what Rodney is tired of.
You know, that reminds me of Cheers, where Norm would come in every time he walked in the bar. There's a Norm, and then he had some funny quip or something, and what's happening, Norm, or something, and he said, "Yeah, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear."
Yeah.
So there you go. Kind of remind me of that.
That's good. Yeah, Rodney also on board with not a fan of not releasing the depth chart. I like the mentality of,
Hey, man.
I'll show you my piece, you show me your piece.
Man.
Let's go play ball.
What's up? We're going to have to line up here eventually. What's the difference?
We'll find out eventually, yeah, who's playing who.
And if it's not a distraction, since you don't listen to all the outside noise anyway, how is it going to be a distraction? You don't hear the outside noise because we don't pay attention to what the outside noise is. So what's the difference? What's the difference? Give us something. We need it.
Now here's the thing too. I used to be of the mind that I didn't care if a coach released a depth chart, but now it feels like the forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
I'm definitely one of those, and you tell me I can't have something I wanted.
I'm with you, Rodney. I feel you.
I want to take a bite of that apple, but I won't be able to until 28 minutes till kickoff, and then I can fulfill our appetite for a depth chart. So we're not getting that, but we did get an answer on something else really important with this Gamecock team. Rasul Faison cleared to play. Rasul Faison spoke yesterday. Shane Beamer spoke about Rasul Faison getting cleared. We'll hear from both of those gentlemen when the early game continues.
Pressing here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, does not matter. Absolute Glass will take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows or mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Charleston Highway near Pine Ridge Drive. We have a report of an accident. Two others to make you aware of. Spears Creek Church Road near I-20 and Crystal Springs Drive between Windywood Road and Edmond Highway. And the forecast looking kind of nice for today and tomorrow. Mix of clouds and sun both days. 85 today, 88 tomorrow. We'll be in the low 80s for the weekend and some chances for some pop-up shower activity. 63 currently on 107.5 Game.
Week oneiness. It's a thing. Sometimes week ones can be a little different than you expect and anticipate because of the newness of rosters, the freshness of your team itself, and sometimes you just don't know if your projected starting running back is going to be allowed to play when you go into the first game week of the season. Well, that last boat was the one that South Carolina's been sailing in for 8 months. But we finally got word that Rasul Faison cleared to play game one against Virginia Tech. And Rasul Faison got to speak yesterday. So what was his reaction to getting cleared to play for South Carolina, to be able to play this weekend against Virginia Tech? This
was just at home, just resting, and then Coach Beamer gave me a call, let me know that I'm all cleared up. And it was a great conversation.
What's going on, Rasul? Got two for you. Number one, did you call your mom immediately when you found out?
Yeah, I called her immediately. She was asleep though, so she was asleep for like 3 hours. Then she woke up to all the news.
He tried to give mom the heads up, but then mom got to find out like everybody else. But also,
I love that. The mom was the first call.
Mom was the first call, and the most relatable thing with the Faison family, mom was asleep for 3 hours. Because you know what? I was asleep for 3 hours before waking up and seeing the news.
Because it was an afternoon drop, correct?
It was, yep.
The afternoon drop, yeah. So
Mom's just like us, early morning risers.
Taking a nap. She's like, yes, son, what do you need? Oh, okay, something important. All right.
And she's, wait. It's probably getting a bunch of congratulatory text messages.
Yeah, imagine she goes from, all right, hey, Rasul, to, oh, wait, hey, what's going on? What do you need?
Yeah, she was waiting for it. Man, I tried some new pizza today. It was great, you know.
Oh, hey, Mom, you got to try Village Idiot. You absolutely have to. You have to come down here and try that. Like, maybe something that ended up, has happened at one point in time. A call comes in, and she's like, hey, it's whatever. Oh, no, it's that news. The news you've been waiting on for 8 months.
Because honestly, why would she have thought that would have been the content of the call? Because it's not like it'd been any time,
Not like anybody who's been invested in the story was confident in the parties or the powers that be that dictate whether or not he gets to play.
Yeah, imagine the conversations for the last 8 months. Any news? No. Okay. Well, what else is going on, son? There's nothing else we could. All right. Every day for the last 8 months. Yep. Anything? Nope.
How's practice? Is it going to be fruitful for you in the long run? Maybe.
Are you making friends?
Yeah, really? Are you making friends?
Are you at least making friends? Everything going okay? You're a long way from home.
What's the canteen like at camp?
Right, yeah. But are they providing you with any special snacks?
Exactly.
But no, this week he got to provide her with some really good news. So he was excited, and then Shane Beamer got to elaborate on the process of getting Rasul eligible.
Yeah, it's not much because there's really only so much that I can do. And I knew that our compliance people were working really, really hard. I knew the NCAA had a lot on their plate on top of Sewell's eligibility case as well, and that there were a lot of moving parts. So for me, it was when needed, Aaron or Angie or whoever would reach out to us or reach out to me and say, maybe the NCAA needs this, or do you have an answer for this and whatnot. But very little, I'll be honest. It was just kind of supporting them with whatever they needed and trying to be patient. And certainly you want an answer, and I want to call them every day and say, what have you heard? What have you heard? I didn't that often. But really, it's just being able to, support in any way. And they did most of the legwork. And when I say that, it's primarily the statements that we needed to provide, the data that we needed, the records that we needed from other schools and things like that. So, credit Sewell and the way he handled this situation, but then our administration and the way they worked with Sewell and the NCAA to get stuff done.
Long process. Long, drawn-out process. But I think, if we want to put early candidate for winners, obviously Rodney in his call in the last segment, one of our winners of the show. But another candidate for winners, the South Carolina Compliance Office.
Yeah. Probably for more so than Russell. They do a lot of work that people don't see, getting people eligible, getting people to play, all types of paperwork flying here and there, last-minute things that are happening all the time. That being said, you think Brent Pry had Utah State film on his to-do list prior to this?
I think he did.
He's like, I got to go watch Utah State.
I think he had it stashed kind of like in a safe somewhere. And, because I have to assume he's got the hard copy of tape that he puts it in like a Super 8 projector and is watching it like that, like they do in Remember the Titans. You know, that's what I'd like to imagine. So I like to imagine he had it locked away, and then he got that notification on his phone, and then he goes, all right, it's time to enter the vault. And but pulls that thing out, you know, unlocks the vault, pulls out all this Utah State film, and just goes to town.
Yeah, he's going to have to. They're going to have to figure it out, again, because we're assuming this is a big deal because without any depth charts, I'm going to make the wild, reckless speculation that Rasul Faison will be walking out there with the first offense. That's what I will say because I have no other information.
We have no other information, and we will not get any.
This is reckless speculation on my part because I am in a lack, and I'm in an information hole. So I will say that it's Rasul Faison will be walking out as RB1.
Is recklessness part of week one-iness?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
for sure.
We are in our wheelhouse right now. Yes, I'm the same way. I still expect him to get at least 10 carries. I think he gets at least 10 because he's still been practicing. He's still getting reps. But is he getting, you know, if you get 50 run play reps in a practice, I don't know if that's how many they get. But let's just assume that number's 50. Have you been giving him 25? Is he conditioned to run 20 times in a game? Probably not. Probably conditioned to be able to carry the ball at least 10, 15 if you really need him to. I still expect him to at least get 10 carries in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a positive thing depending on how many, so I guess what I'm wondering, if you're putting at a raw number, what about percentage-wise? Will he get over half the carries for the group? Will he get a third of the carries for the group? 75% of the carries for the group? What do you think that looks like?
I think he will probably get about 38% of the carries. So not just a third, a little more than a third. I think we'll see a little Oscar Attaway.
So if I'm just doing, if this is back of my folder math, you're projecting him at 38 carries.
38%. If they carried the ball 100 times on Sunday, he would carry 38.
Okay.
Now, if they carry the ball 100 times, that's a whole different news story in itself.
All right.
Because I think Lenoris will probably get 7 or 8 just on design runs or having a scramble. I think Augustive will probably get 7 or 8. And I think Attaway might get 9 or 10. One of those two guys will get close and comparable to what Faison gets. I think we'll see a really interesting split. Now, how well that works with the flow of the offense and how much that affects the flow of the offense is one thing. But I think we'll get a pretty good split. One thing I think we all know of, though, is the one who might lead the team in targets, I think we can assume might be Nick Harbor.
Wide receiver one.
Wide receiver
one with no depth chart. I'm going to go ahead and out on a limb and say he will be on the first team.
He's my wide receiver one on this team. I think he's the one that's poised for a breakout. This could be the year, given a full offseason, given the progression he had over the course of last year. I think we can expect a lot of things from Nick Harbor. But how big of a step does he think he took? And what type of comparisons is Nick Harbor drawing in practice? Because Luke Doty had some high praise yesterday. We'll hear what they had to say coming up next on the early game. Nick Harbor, one of the players of intrigue for this Carolina offense. We talked about the running game and how those carries are going to be divvied up. But I think one thing we're all pretty confident in is that Nick Harbor is going to receive the football through the air. But this is a different season for Nick Harbor. He didn't run track in the spring, so he had for the first time in his collegiate career, had a full spring for spring practice. Is a little ahead of schedule going into week 1, more so than he's been in his previous 2 years at South Carolina. So yesterday, when Nick Harbor spoke, I decided to ask Nick Harbor, how much further along is he going into week 1 this year than he has been the previous 2 seasons?
Years. Just having that full spring, all of it, just all ball. It's been one of the biggest things for me. And, I'm just playing faster. I know more. I'm seeing things easier. I'm starting to see things faster. I'm just starting to go into plays faster, get out of my routes faster. So it's just the preparation that I've been putting on myself is just this is a regular practice week for me. Even though it's a game, I'm just taking it that same way, just mentally preparing how I prepare for it.
Light years. And he did not. I don't think I finished my question. Finished the end of the question before he just goes light years. He was eager to let me know that he is way further ahead going into this year than he's been in previous seasons in his career. So we should probably expect the Nick Harbor we saw at the end of last season to be built upon going into 2025.
Yeah, that obviously makes sense for several reasons. One, we forget that Nick was not a polished football player when he was coming into college, right? If you take Mazio Bennett versus Nick Harbor, Mazio Bennett has been a wide receiver. He goes to all the camps. He does the 7-on-7s. He has a trainer. He does all the routes. He knows the route tree, et cetera, et cetera. Nick, I'm fast. I'm big. Throw me ball, right? That's what we were working with Nick. So he had to learn how to become a football player. Once he learns to become a football player, he gets on campus. Now he's splitting his time between football and track. Well, they were saying that he's at practice. He's taking mental reps. Mental reps don't work.
If we learned anything, it's that you cannot rely on mental reps alone.
You need to go through the physical reps. You need to be doing it. You need to be repetitions of your body memory, all those types of things need to be happening. So, yes, it makes plenty of sense that his development is further along now than it's been.
Yeah, because usually, in the mornings when I'm in here, I take just a couple minutes and I'm bench pressing, couple 100 pounds.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can tell.
Right.
Jensen, you're pumping iron.
I am mentally.
Yeah, you go to the mental gym for your
Right.
body. It's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? You have to you have to do it. You have to go through the repetitions of doing it over and over and over again, and that's when your body starts to connect. So yes, it's not a surprise that he's further along now.
You tell me football's a physical sport?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, everything, you have to do it all. There's nothing that you can just be like, I'm going to sit here and think about this, and I'm going to get better. There's no job that any of y'all are going to right now that you get better at with mental reps. You have to, look, Jen can tell me what to do behind that screen, but when things start going and I have to turn this knob here and turn this knob here and volume down,
you need to be hands-on.
You have to be working hands-on. All right, it's one of the founding principles of education: participation before observation. You got to do it. You got to do it.
That.
John Dewey. That's John Dewey. For those who didn't think they was going to get their education
Dewey Decimal System, dude.
close.
Oh, close. Okay.
Not quite of Dewey Decimal System fame, but I would have guessed the same thing.
Okay, thank you for at least making me feel better.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah,
we're
no
good.
relation to Dewey Cox either.
Not
Different people. Completely different people. But yeah, growing up, my two favorite basketball players are Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash. I watched a lot of Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash. Guess what? I never became Kobe Bryant or Steve Nash. That didn't happen. You kind of have to do the physical stuff. You can't just absorb it by osmosis.
And to the bonus point, how did Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash become then? All of their stories about, I put in a lot of hours working.
Yes.
In the gym.
Playing against players that are a lot better than me and getting my butt kicked a little bit.
Yeah, you have to do that. So that's a great news. That's great news to hear that he's decided to focus on football and it's paid off for him.
I think one of the cool things about this job, too, when you're here for a couple of years and you talk to some of the same players for a few years, you get a gist about kind of how honest they are publicly with their development. And one thing I've loved about Nick Harbor, my first interaction with Nick Harbor was in 2023 on the preseason media day. And obviously, he was the 5-star recruit. He's the freak athlete. You see his high school track tape, and you're like, that's hilarious because that man is a foot taller and bigger than everybody else on that track, and he's running so much faster than everybody. It's comical. But I remember asking him, what can fans expect for you this freshman season? And I was so impressed with his honesty because he says, you're going to have to be patient with me. Never played the position before. There's so much that I'm learning and still learning. I'm paraphrasing here. I need to go back on see if I can go back on my phone and find it where I recorded it. But he says, I'm learning a lot of things. I hope people are patient with me.
And also for Nick to say that does not lack confidence.
No.
He does not lack confidence.
Was very transparent about the development that he still needed to do. So when he said, I am light years ahead yesterday in that press conference, I believe him. And I am personally expecting a pretty big season from Nick Harbor going into next year. But going into next hour, we have some material for the bulletin board. And we'll tell you exactly what that is to kick off hour number 2 of the early game.
Press here for our friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's been family-owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. That's a long time. And third-generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom-and-pop values that you love. And Ben is determined to raise the standards of sales, service, and retail. At Cato's, they are proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's has you covered. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
Charleston Highway near Pine Ridge Drive. We have a report of an accident there. Also, Crystal Springs Drive between Windywood Road and Edmond Highway. Spears Creek Church Road near I-20 and Highway 21 there at I-77. We also have a report of an accident. 85 today, 88 tomorrow. And come Saturday, a couple showers are possible, 81 for the high, and just a few showers possible on Sunday. Less chance Sunday than on Saturday. High of 83. Currently 63 on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And we have the bulletin board material. I came to the realization over the break when I said that to go into the second hour that I didn't realize, or at least wasn't prepared for how French that sentence was going to sound.
Le bulletin board.
We have some material for le bulletin board.
That's a little Cajun.
I would say
That was a little, yeah. I mean, that's
Which is French derivative.
it is a French derivative. It is almost like the combination of a French accent and a more classical Southern, which I've heard
I was
plenty
going to
of.
say, I'm actually kind of impressed.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but
You've been watching some Pepe Le Pew cartoons?
ooh,
And he's like,
yeah.
who is that?
Who's that?
Yeah.
I want to sound like that guy. Right
Okay.
there.
Yeah, I'll send you. I'll send you a link on that.
A real modern day romantic, Pepe Le Pew.
Ooh, yeah. Off air conversation. We'll continue this.
Okay.
See, I was thinking,
cable show.
Thinking I was either sounding like that or like the peas from VeggieTales for those who
Oh.
those
okay.
who got to watch VeggieTales as much as I did at a young age. But yesterday, now I'll start this off with this disclaimer. I love articles like this. My favorite type of like written content is when you get coaches on the record, but without their name. Well, I guess anonymously on the record, because they get unfiltered opinions. I love talking to my friends that are coaches about certain things, players, like especially when they're in their league. Like one of the most fun I had is, having a really close friend who was a coach in the Big Ten for basketball. And I got unfiltered opinions about everyone in that league because they scout them religiously. They watch them so much more and through a different lens than really anybody else. So you learn more about why some things might work, might not work. So I love the unfiltered part of all of this. Getting that part out of the way. Because on ESPN.com, this is from Adam Rittenberg, he has the intel on college football's top 2025 quarterbacks where he gets some of those off or on the record anonymous sources from coaches that do that level of scouting on these guys. Now, Lenore Sellers obviously on this list. A lot of people over the offseason, as we have seen, have said that they believe he's the best quarterback in the country. Plenty of people have. Plenty of people whose opinions I absolutely respect as football minds believe that Lenore Sellers is not just one of, but some of them say he is the best quarterback in college football. And one SEC coach said Sellers really got hot down the stretch. He's such a big, imposing, physical kid. Now can he take the next step in the throw game? But one of them...
And that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
That's fair. Yep. And he got better in the passing game down the season, but can you be more consistent than just the last 6 weeks of the year? Can you take that and push it forward? Can accept that, right? And here's from the story. Some coaches aren't quite sold on Sellers. Quote, I can't get behind the Lenore Sellers hype, an SEC coach said. He reminds me of Anthony Richardson, and I know Anthony Richardson went 4th overall. Physically, he's a freak, but is he a great quarterback? End quote. And this is where my issues with the comparison come in.
All right, so let's get some numbers or some reasons to break it down. Why do you have issues with this comparison? I mean, Anthony Richardson did go number 4 overall.
He did.
He is an NFL quarterback on the verge, on the brink.
On the brink, yes.
So what's the issue? What's wrong with this comparison?
I think the issue with this comparison is if we have issues with Lenoris's accuracy, then let's compare Anthony Richardson and Lenoris Sellers' accuracy. Anthony Richardson only played one full season as a starter. He played 8 games in 2021 and had a 6-5 touchdown interception ratio, completed less than 60% of his passes, 59%, which in Anthony Richardson standards is like having a Joe Burrow type season, because the next year he played the entire season, started every game, and completed a smidge under 54% of his passes. Through 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So if you want to go in terms of carelessness with a football and your ability to put the ball in the end zone, 24 touchdowns, 15 interceptions for his career. In his career at Florida, he also only completed 54.7% of his passes. Now, Lenoris Sellers did not start very well against Old Dominion, but throughout the course of the season, got significantly better. 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, completing almost 66% of his passes, including a game against Missouri where he threw for over 300 yards and engineered 2 different scoring drives at the end of the game to give them a lead, and then to give them a lead for good and win the game after Missouri took the lead back. So essentially, he had the equivalent of about 2 game-winning drives in 1 fourth quarter. And then, of course, he does what he does with his legs. The Anthony Richardson thing may be a little lazy because Anthony Richardson was way more inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to talk about the flashes are similar. I still think that the play Anthony Richardson made in that 2-point conversion against Utah to start the 2022 season is one of the best, most athletically gifted football plays I will ever see in my life. Where he spins out of a tackle, is basically almost no-look passing it to an open receiver in the corner of the end zone. Freakishly athletic. You look at that and you're like, if that guy can string that together for an entire game, he'll be the best quarterback in the NFL one day. He had that play with the Colts this past year, where he is getting drilled as he throws it, and that ball travels at least 65 yards in the air, hits Alec Pierce on a dime. Alec Pierce is basically walking in the catches the ball as he steps into the end zone, and that ball was released on like the own 31-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
You see that, and you're like, that's a guy that if he puts it together for half a game is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Lenoris Sellers has put together full games, where Anthony Richardson never really did it for more than a quarter or a half.
Or a play.
Florida, or a play.
Or a throw at Pro Day where you hit the ceiling of your indoor facility and everybody says, ooh.
Ooh, ah.
Wow.
Ah. Ooh. It has the Joe Milton effect, right? Where you see them throw without pads on, and you're like, oh, this guy has to be the best quarterback we've ever seen, right?
Yeah. And you know, and I think these articles are awesome because they do give you a chance to get unfiltered opinions from coaches, but you have to be careful because all it says is that it's an SEC coach. There are 30 coaches on that SEC staff right across the road.
Multiply that by 16.
Right. So there are a lot of people who qualify as an SEC coach. When you read it, your mind automatically thinks, oh, that must have been Eli Dorkowitz that said that.
Right.
Or it must have been a head coach that said that. And it could be. But it does not necessarily mean that. So you always got to kind of take that for what it said. But I do believe someone did say that. But how informed are they? Because I don't think that is a very informed opinion when you look at all those numbers that you just broke down. They are maybe last year you could have started saying that early last year. But after the end of the season, after you put together 6 is not a coincidence. 1 or 2 is, oh, wow, okay, let's see if he can do it again. When you do it 6 times in different ways, leading your team to victory, which is a huge point.
Yep.
Because that's something that Anthony Richardson did not do consistently.
Anthony Richardson did lose to Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt.
So if we're looking at the physical attributes, cool. But then when you start looking at the intangibles that they love to throw upon quarterbacks all the time.
2 different worlds.
2 different things that we're comparing here.
And here's the thing, too, with Lenoris. You maybe could have said that about him. I would have maybe agreed with that assessment a little bit once you got to the Alabama game. And even after that Alabama game, because you saw the glimpses in that game, right? You saw him break that tackle in the backfield and put one on a rope to Gage Larvidan that Larvidan would love to have back, right? You saw him make that pass to Nick Harbor in the end zone to get back into contention. But then you saw him fumble a lot, some costly fumbles. Then you saw him throw a ball into the stands on a 2-point conversion where Vandrevius Jacobs was wide open in the back of the end zone, just missed the throw. You see the mix of freakish athletic ability, strong arm, but maybe some accuracy issues in that game. But since that Alabama game, where they didn't lose for another 6 weeks, you saw him bring the consistency to the table. And I think if anybody has any questions about Lenoris's ability to throw the ball with acceptable accuracy, now there's a difference between Drew Brees level accuracy and an acceptable accuracy for a college football quarterback. I think the Missouri game put the narrative to rest that he is not an accurate quarterback to an acceptable level, because you had to be an accurate quarterback at an acceptable level to be able to put up 327 yards with your back against the wall and to do it with a collapsing pocket almost every single snap too.
Yes, and also this comparison is kind of looking backwards at what we know about Anthony Richardson now.
Yes.
At this point. So if somebody there's also no shame in if you're a great college player and then you don't necessarily end up that way in the NFL. That happens often.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think the comparison is sort of false. But I did say this earlier, when people were sort of kind of hoping like, hey man, we got Lenoris for 2 more years. No, you don't.
No.
This is it.
This is it.
This is the last
Make
year.
no mistake where you are.
And
this
my
is
example was Anthony Richardson. If they took that incomplete data set and they drafted him number 4, Lenoris is out of here after this year. So I say all that to say, let's enjoy it. The hype train will be leaving Columbia in maybe 15 weeks, we hope. Who knows how long this lasts, but 12 for sure. We got 12 guaranteed. Better enjoy them.
Yeah, if he just gets 12 this year, that would put him at 24 total starts in his career. And that's just assuming there's no bowl game or SEC championship, anything like that. Let's just go 12-game regular season. The most starts, Anthony Richardson's total starts for his career, 20. So he would have had at least 4 more games underneath his belt than Richardson would have. Comparable, but at the same time, too, I watched enough Anthony Richardson when he played at Florida to know that there were some issues. Really, the writing on the wall between Anthony Richardson and Will Levis was when they played against each other, and neither of them wanted to win that game. It was a pretty bad display of quarterbacking in that game. That should have been like that draft when Anthony Richardson got drafted and by the Colts, and then the Titans took Will Levis. I was like, 2 teams in the same division just made the same mistake.
Oh, fool's gold on different ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
You get a big statuesque. Oh, man, he can throw it downfield. That's your Will Levis. You get your Anthony Richardson. Oh, what an athlete. Fool's gold can come in different forms.
On both ends of that spectrum. That game. So if you ever get curious, that game was September 10th, 2022, and both quarterbacks combined, right, to throw for less than 400 yards. So Levis threw for 202, Richardson 143. Levis completed 54% of his passes. Richardson 40%. He was 14 for 35. They combined for 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions each. Not good. It was not good. Oh, and including a pick 6. Richardson did throw the game-deciding pick 6 in that game too. So if you ever just get bored and want to see some bad quarterbacking, watch that game and then tell me that Anthony Richardson and Lenoris Sellers are the same player.
I'm with you.
I appreciate the candid response, as I do with all of these coaches whenever these type of things are released. Just to say that I disagree with the evaluation at this point in their career would be a little bit of an understatement. Don't necessarily see it. Coming up next, the early game morning meeting, because there's more than just the football that went down in terms of getting ready for the Virginia Tech game over at the facility. Jeremiah Donati talked about the stadium renovation project. We got an update on Travian Robertson and what his responsibilities on a game day are like and what Jordan Dove will be tasked with in their interim. All of that and more here to continue the second hour of the early game.
Hey, it's Jen Jensen. Are you looking for some flooring? Well, discover the unparalleled quality and selection at Mill Street Flooring. They're your go-to destination for the finest luxury vinyl plank flooring in the Midlands. The exclusive distributor of Case Luxury Flooring. They offer wear levels from 12 to 28 mils for durability and style. And whether you're a contractor, a builder, or an installer, you're going to appreciate their factory direct prices and manufacturer's warranties. And the great part is, when you select the flooring that you want, you go in there and you like it, you can take it home that day because they have it in stock. And with samples available, luxury vinyl plank in a wide array of patterns and colors, you can honestly find the perfect flooring instantly. Choose from standard and wider planks to fit any space and budget. No order is too big or too small. Visit millstreetflooring.com or call Joe 803-424-8547 to arrange an appointment at their Lugoff or West Columbia locations. At Mill Street Flooring, there's no good reason to spend more than you have to. A report of an accident, Charleston Highway near Pine Ridge Drive. Also, I-20 eastbound, they're approaching Highway 1 and Highway 21 at I-77. 85 for the high today, 88 tomorrow, some showers, and 81 on Saturday. A few lesser chance of showers on Sunday, and a high of 83. And starting off the morning, we're kind of getting that cooler feel, 63 currently on 107.5 The Game.
All right. We have a really busy second hour of the show because today we'll also be debuting week 1 of the early game Underdog Challenge. We'll give you more info on that, but without further ado, it is time to start the early game morning meeting.
Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Yes, it will, because it's almost game day. 3 days.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Yes, it will, because we are talking so much football. There are college football games on tonight. We have a loaded slate this weekend, and we also have a guest in the studio. My man Nick Harvey from WIS, representing Team WIS today on the show for the early game Underdog Challenge, is in to join us for the morning meeting. So we have a little bit of a guest in here. Nick, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm super excited to be here. Really proud to represent Team WIS. I got Rick Henry's confidence in me right
That's
now.
impressive.
So that is
That speaks
that is
volumes.
a huge win,
That's
but
a
also
badge.
the most frightening thing I think I might have ever experienced.
Did you get any thinly veiled threats about what might happen if you end up misspeaking or giving the wrong pick out for this?
No, not this time. I think if we do poorly, if we do poorly, there will probably be a heart-to-heart with the WIS sports team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
There might be a lot of pressure right there from Rick Henry.
Well, I consider him a full guest. You had said you have a little bit of a guest in him, so
He's a full guest.
You're
Did
a full
I say
guest.
that?
You did. You said a little bit of a guest.
Brains were operating.
That's
at a
okay.
different- No,
I was
Nick
gonna
Harvey
guess,
is
yeah.
a full guest.
He's a full guest. Okay. Just
full
want to make sure his
guest.
credentials were full, that he was fully vetted, and
Yes.
it's okay that he's here in a full capacity.
Security let him in, so I think he's good.
Oh, there you go.
The ultimate test. Security let him in through the door, and nobody got tased. So that's an absolute plus. Some big news from yesterday. Now, we talked a lot about the preview of the game between South Carolina and Virginia Tech, but one of the big headlines over the weekend, unfortunately, was the car accident that defensive line coach Travian Robertson was involved in. And it was a really scary situation. The other driver in the scenario unfortunately lost their life in the accident. Travian Robertson had to be rushed to the hospital and thankfully is in stable condition. Coach Beamer gave an update on him yesterday to start off the press conference.
Update on Travian Robertson. Obviously, really serious accident last week. Truthfully, he's very lucky to be alive as well. He will not be with us this weekend in Atlanta. He will be back soon. I've talked to him. I've seen him since the wreck, and I've talked to him as well, and he's eager to get back out here and will be as soon as possible. Everyone knows what this place means to him and how much it hurts him not to be here with us right now, but his health is the primary thing, and had some pretty serious stuff happen to him in that wreck. So I'd ask for continued thoughts and prayers for he and his family, but he is going to be okay. It's nothing long term. It's just physically he's not able to be down on the sidelines at a game right now as well. So Jordan Dove, who works closely with our defensive line, is essentially the defensive line coach right now, working with the tackles. Obviously, Sterling Lucas is heavily involved, being that his position lines up next to the tackles. And then we've got a really talented defensive staff, and everybody's responsibilities need to increase in Travian's absence in the short term. This won't be a all-year thing by any stretch of the imagination, but just this week and until Travian gets back.
The good news is that Travian Robertson will return at some point this year, but what does that mean for week one? Well, Jordan Kay of the State newspaper asked Coach Beamer that, and asked me, Coach Six, what his responsibility, the normal D-line coach responsibility, looks like, and how Jordan Dove will fit into that equation this week.
It's obviously most of the work is done during the week from a preparation standpoint in the meetings as you're putting together the game plan for what we want to do the position meetings that we have. So most days for us is, we have today, for example, we had a team meeting at 8 a.m. and then we had a 20-minute special teams meeting, and then we have about an hour of offense-defense meetings before we went on the field. So when we have those offense-defense meetings, sometimes it's the whole offense together, sometimes it's the whole defense together for part of it, but most of the time you're in your own position rooms. So when we're in those own position rooms, Jordan Dove is in there like he is every day with the defensive tackles, and he's talking about our game plan and Virginia Tech and whatnot. And then during the game, most of the work is done at that point. Jordan typically is in the press box for us. He does a great job of watching what's happening and being able to convey to Travian and the rest of the defensive coaches kind of what's happening with the offensive line and defensive line during the series. And then really the biggest responsibility is just is the substitutions, which that's something that we talk about as a staff the morning of the game. We'll meet on Sunday morning, and I'll talk to each coach about how are you planning to play the players. And in that meeting, Jordan will talk about, here's who we're starting, and here's kind of what the rotation is going to be, and here's when so-and-so is going in. And then during the game, Clayton's obviously making the calls. There's certain calls where, Clayton may tell Sterling or Travian that he wants some sort of, twist or movement up front with the defensive line, and then he'll let them call it. But those are all things that those guys have talked about during the week, if that makes sense.
Preston Thorne, you hear that, and now your, mental picture of the impact of Travian Robertson not being there in Atlanta for game one is?
Tremendous. And I think Shane tried to undersell it, and I understand for trying to do damage control, but I think it is tremendous, and I believe Jordan Dove has not slept this week. Because there's a big difference between being the pilot and the co-pilot.
Right.
Well,
right?
Again, it's a case of watching, like in here, you're watching me run the board, and maybe you can do something real quick if I run down the hall, and being totally in control of the broadcast.
That's a totally different feel. And this is not to say that he's not capable or that he won't be capable, but it is a huge moment to be taking your first time to do this. So this is going to be really important. And also the idea of the substitutions is something I've been talking about. And yes, they have a plan, but the old American philosopher Mike Tyson has told us over and over, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And Jordan Dove has never been punched in the face as a assistant coach. He's been up there running the charts, charting plays, communicating information, doing his job, but his job has never been this. And so, yes, it is a tremendous thing. And this is, again, not to say that he's not capable, not to say that he can't do it, but we would all feel more comfortable if the coach who has proven to do a good job was there doing a good job. Because, again, you have a younger coach, not age-wise, experience-wise, with an also inexperienced defensive line. So it's two people looking at each other, trying to figure out the answers, and we're both going to be staring at each other like deer in headlights, possibly like, what are we supposed to be doing? And that's where you would want a calming presence or a fire-starting presence or whatever Travian feels he needs to be on the sideline. So I do think this is tremendously impactful. The staff will probably pull together and get it done, but I think we're underselling the importance of him on that staff.
Yeah, Nick, you hear that. You obviously were up to date with the news that happened this weekend. You hear Shane elaborate on it. What were some of your thoughts?
Well, to piggyback on what Preston said a little bit, too, I know Jordan Dove pretty well. He's been with the program for at least probably 4 or 5 years now. He was equipment, then he became, a student coaching assistant. Now he's on staff, and he is a guy who stays in the film room, and he's with those D-line guys literally every chance he gets. But to your point, also, you're right. I mean, that's just not something that you are not the defensive line coach. It's going to be an adjustment when you're the one in charge of getting these guys rotated in and out, making adjustments for what they're doing. It's going to be tough, but at the end of the day, all you can say is I think you want Travian Robertson back as quickly as possible when he feels ready, because he is a proven developer and a great coach. He came over, he took over and made an immediate impact for the South Carolina defensive line. Granted, he had some studs to work with, but at the same time, if he's developing those guys, then you want him back on that sideline as quickly as possible.
Yeah, a lot of them were studs as a product of his development. That's going to be something to watch for on Sunday whenever we kick this season off. But coming up next, it's time to pick some underdogs. Our first rendition of the early game Underdog Challenge is next.
Press here for our friends at Integrated Media. Listen, we've been trying to tell you. Now we are 75 hours within to countdown. We are close, and you need to get your outdoor setup ready. What does your outdoor setup look like? Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. This weekend there's going to be a bunch of games on. You can have all your screens playing every game. You can have your laptop, your iPad, your computer, your television, all of them playing different games without any lag time with the Wi-Fi that Integrated Media provides for you. From home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
I-20 eastbound after about Highway 1, there's an accident there. Also, I-20 eastbound after Highway 378. Old Hopkins Road near Thrush Street and Highway 21 at I-77 also have a report of an accident. And as far as your forecast is concerned, 85 today, 88 tomorrow. A couple showers possible on Saturday and Sunday. The chances lessen by the time we get to Sunday. 81 and 83 will be the highs, but 63 currently on 107.5 The Game.
Oh, you hear that? And when you hear that at 7:30 every Thursday morning in football season, that means it is time for the early game underdog challenge. Well done, Jen Jensen.
I just couldn't stand. It's about crime fighting, but that's okay. It's still underdog. So I was so excited
This
to
is
play
like
it.
football's version of crime fighting. If you're the favorite, you're the villain.
That's a great point. I knew that.
It is a form of football crime fighting.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to decide which teams we think are going to pull off the upsets in college football this week. Here's how the game goes. We have a snake draft order where we will pick an underdog, and the underdog has to win the game outright. And the amount of points that we get, if we are correct, is whatever the point spread is. For example, LSU is a 4.5-point underdog against Clemson. If one of us picks LSU and LSU wins, that person will get 4.5 points, so on and so forth. Once the NFL season starts, we will then pick a college game in the first round of our draft, an NFL game in the second round of our draft. Pretty easy, and we'll keep the point totals throughout the year. And you can play, too, on our Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100. The prize right now is TBD. Admittedly, it's TBD. There will be a prize.
Now, this is very dangerous with you because you've partaken in some very interesting prizes / punishments. So I'm a little bit nervous about that.
I will say the prize will be better than the punishments.
Prize will be better than the punishments.
No one will be forced to eat Rocky Mountain oysters. Ooh, chocolate chip cookies is a good prize.
Good call.
It's a very good prize. But in order to do it, just send in 2 college football underdogs and the point spread that they are. And I will double check the point spread. You have up until 9 o'clock, and then the cutoff is 9 a.m. So you have the rest of the show to think about it. And whoever has the most points at the end of the week will win the prize. So without further ado, we did a random draft order generator yesterday.
I'm nervous.
And Team WIS, represented by Nick Harvey today, has the first pick, meaning they'll have the first pick of this first round, and they will have the last pick as well. So you'll have pick 1 and 8. So, Nick, kick us off.
So I was having a conversation with Rick about this yesterday. I texted Julia late last night. Julia said, "You guys got this." And I basically, after I explained the rules to Rick and getting the points by picking an underdog, because the first game we talked about was like a 3.5-point spread. And then I explained to him, if we win, we get 3.5 points.
Yes.
And he was like, no, we got to go bigger then. And we opted for a little bit of action. The Toledo Rockets.
Oh, that's on my sheet.
That's on my sheet. Wildcats.
Oh, that is on my sheet.
A 13.5-point underdog. They added Chip Tranum, the running back from Kentucky and Ohio State. Tucker Gleason up for a magnificent season for Toledo. Like, the guy's numbers are unbelievable, and you're trusting Zach Calzada, who transfers from A&M to Incarnate Word and looks like a star at Incarnate Word. But if you look at his A&M numbers, stepping back into the SEC, you got to prove something to me before I'm going to trust you to beat the Toledo Rockets.
Now, as of right now, ESPN Bet has them at 9.5, so we'll put down 9.5 for that one right there. That one has moved because it opened at 13.5. It is right now at 9.5, meaning the people might know something, that this game is going to be a little bit closer. That was up at the top of my sheet here, so that was a very good call. So Team WIS, Toledo at 9.5 versus Kentucky. We now move to Jen Jensen.
Oh my gosh, the pressure's on. I'm like Preston. I'm nervous. So, in reviewing, and I don't have nearly the insights as Nick, but I'm going to say Cincinnati over Nebraska.
Oh, that was also on my sheet. Oh, my picks are flying off the board here. This is not ideal.
And the spread's what, 6.5 points?
The spread is at 6.5 points. Cincinnati playing at Arrowhead Stadium against Nebraska. That is definitely an interesting game, because picking against Nebraska when Nebraska is a favorite, I feel like is a very wise type of pick. So Cincinnati at 6.5 against Nebraska is off the board, which means we move to Preston Thorne.
In the Battle of the Oranges, give me the quote machine himself, Fran Brown.
Oh,
give me the orange over the Volunteers.
So Preston takes Syracuse. That one is at plus 13.5 right now against
big.
Tennessee. That one has stayed pretty consistent over the last few weeks. That one is off the board. I will go ahead and take. Oh, see, this was a big gamble for me, but I will go with Sam Houston State plus 9.5. Sam Houston State looked a whole lot better than expected on the road against Western Kentucky in week 0 of the season. They lost that game in the fourth quarter, but Western Kentucky, one of the favorites to win that league every single year. Sam Houston State's playing against UNLV, who had to scratch and claw at home against Idaho State in FCS to win that game. Give me Sam Houston State at home. Another one of my favorite strategies is picking home underdogs, because the home dogs bark the loudest, which means I get the first pick of the second round, so I'll go back-to-back here. And with my second pick, I'll play it a little safer. Give me Baylor against Auburn and Hugh Freeze, because if you have 3 play callers, Preston Thorne, you have
none.
So give me Baylor with a little bit of a better situation at home. Again, another home dog against Auburn. Only 2.5 points. But I like my chances of getting on the board, which means we are back to Preston Thorne.
And with that being said, we're going big. Give me.
Oh, I love
Give me University of Texas San Antonio versus Texas A&M.
Oh, he's going for it.
Jeff Traylor and them boys.
So that game between the Roadrunners, Meep, and Texas A&M at College Station, currently sitting on ESPN Bet at 23.5 points. So if that one splashes, Preston Thorne will have quite the advantage going into the rest of the season. That moves us back to Jen Jensen.
Okay. How about East Carolina over NC State?
Oh, I love that. East Carolina, always a popular pick in these. East Carolina against NC State. Currently
14,
sitting at 14. All right, so that's a pretty good splash for Jen Jensen there. So ECU at plus 14 against NC State. And now to round us home, Team
right,
WIS.
No pressure.
I got to give some love to a South Carolina team. They're going on the road to Charlottesville, Virginia this weekend in a battle of unproven teams. Give me the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers with the upset over the Virginia Cavaliers.
Good call.
Oh, yes.
I had it on my
call.
list. I should have pulled it.
Coastal Carolina currently sitting as an 11.5 point dog in Charlottesville. A potential big splash right there at UVA.
Now look at your list. Preston was holding up his list. It's like, I have a napkin. So
some of the best ideas in the world have been done on napkins.
That's why I thought maybe if I do this unofficially, I'm in good shape. So, you know.
I love it. So to recap, before we hit the break, Toledo plus 9.5 versus Kentucky, and Coastal Carolina plus 11.5 at Virginia for Team WIS. Jen has Cincinnati at plus 6.5 versus Nebraska, and ECU plus 14 versus NC State. Preston has Syracuse plus 13.5 versus Tennessee, and the UTSA Roadrunners at plus 23.5 against Texas A&M on the road. And I have Sam Houston State plus 9.5 versus Western Kentucky, and Baylor plus 2.5 versus Auburn. Submit your picks at 803-446-2100 or Firehouse Subs text line. Coming up next, we go back to school because Professor P will teach us about routes. That's next. All right, kids. Class is in session. We're going to get offensive today. We talked all about Nick Harbor in that first hour. What routes will Nick Harbor run? Well, today's lesson on Professor P will be wide receiver.
It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football, Wildcats. Football, Wildcats. Football, Wildcats. Football.
Here we go. Wide receiver routes / concepts. We're going to skip a little bit. We're going to go to 102 here. We're going to go to 102. We've been in 101 a lot of times, but I think people quite understand routes because routes, the route tree as it's designed, it's not as important to necessarily know the route tree per se as it is to know the combinations of routes. So we're going to talk route concepts today. Now, the first thing we need to understand, we talked about our football's a lot of fractions, as we've found out.
And numbers.
And a majority of the times when we're talking about passing concepts, we're talking about looking at half of the field. All right, so you hear your quarterbacks to drop back. They look at one half of the field. Then they might progress to the other, but usually their progressions are usually half field progressions. So they're looking at half of the field. Now, when they're looking at half of the field, they'll either be looking at 2 or 3 receivers. 2 commonly known as dubs, 3 commonly known as trips. Again, it's football. We're trying to keep this as simple as possible. Dubs and or trips. Now, when you're looking at dubs or trips, you're looking at half the field. You'll be looking for concepts that'll be talking about. So these are some terms that you may hear. First and foremost, we'll start with verts. 4 verts. Verts means vertical, right? 4 dudes running up the field. So the reason why you're going to run 4 verts is you're going to put a lot of pressure on the defense. They're going to have, if they're playing cover 3, this is where we build everything. If they're playing cover 3, where they have 1 man in the middle of the field, and you run 4 verts, somebody is likely to be open, right? Because in cover 3, you have 1 man deep, and you have thirds covered, but we're running 4 verts. So if those 3 take somebody in theory should be open on the 4 verts, putting a lot of pressure downfield. You will see that. So you have your 4 verts concept. Your next concept you'll have from passing routes is going to be a flood concept. What are we doing when something floods? That means there's too much for a space to contain. Same thing. We're trying to flood a zone, meaning we're putting more receivers in a zone than there are defenders. And the quarterback from that flood concept has a choice to make of which receiver is going to get the ball based on how many defenders that they have. If they have 2 defenders over here and you put 3 receivers over here, you have flooded the zone. Building on that, when you flood the zone by working levels, right? So if 3 receivers are in the zone, you'll have 1 receiver at 5 yards, 1 receiver at 10 yards, 1 receiver at 15. If they take the receiver, if 2 defenders take the top 2 receivers, then you throw it to the 5-yard receiver. If 2 defenders take the 10 and the 5, then you throw it to the deep receiver because then you have flooded the zone, making it theoretically impossible for everybody to cover. So that's going to be your flood zone. So we have 4 verts, and 4 verts, everybody goes which way, Jen?
Vertically.
You go straight up the field.
Straight up.
When you flood, you want to put more people in a zone than there are defenders. Those are 2 major concepts. With your flood, you'll have your levels concept. Next one you'll hear is mesh. You'll hear that a lot of times. Mesh is a lot of times for man-to-man defenses. What you're trying to do is, guess what? You're trying to get your wide receivers to do what?
Mesh.
They're going to mesh at a certain point. They can mesh at low points. Maybe they call it a shallow mesh. They might mesh at a deeper point. They'll call it a deeper mesh. You're trying to confuse either the man-to-man defense and or the zone concept. So we have 4 verts in which they go vertical, floods in which you put more defenders, you put more receivers in the area than defenders. Your mesh, you're trying to mesh the defenders. And here's one that you'll hear all the time. That's every offense runs this, and it's the smash route. Smash route. Okay, the smash route is usually run out of dubs. It's where you'll have 2 receivers. One receiver essentially runs a short route, and the other receiver runs a deeper route. that is as general as possible. Specifically, it's usually a comeback and a post corner. So that's a smash. So, for example, if you want to go back and look, we talk about Nick Harbor today, that touchdown that he scored against Missouri where he was open,
yes,
that was a smash concept. And what happens is the first guy runs the hook, everybody jumps on the hook, he runs the post corner behind it. In theory, he was wide open. So that's when you'll see that idea. So we have 4 verts in which everybody goes which way?
Vertical.
If we're flooding the zone, we want to put more people in the zone than there are defenders, and we want to work that by having levels to the defenders. Those are your pass route concepts, and everything else sort of falls underneath there. And mesh, which wide receivers do what?
They mesh.
They mesh together.
They run the corners off of each other. It's a great breakdown from Preston. We have more in the third hour of the show coming up next. Now, golfing outside is fun, but I can tell you what's more fun, at least for me, because I need help with my golf game. It is broken. Pro Swing in golfing it indoors, 803-592-3916, or you can book online at proswingcolumbia.com. There's so much available in their golf zone simulators. You can rent by the hour, and memberships are available. And one of the best parts is that you can choose the course. You want to go play at Augusta? You can. You want to go play at Pebble Beach? You can. All these courses, so many courses available for you to play with their golf zone simulators, and you get a free 30-minute swing evaluation to get a blueprint of your swing and a couple of pointers and drills to work on. Lesson packages also available for beginners to scratch golfers and to adults as well. They also have club fittings and a tailor-made dealer. Again, 803-592-3916 or proswingcolumbia.com to book online.
Hugely at Blossom, we have a report of an accident there. Also, I-20 eastbound at Highway 61. Be careful. There's a ladder in the road, so you don't want to be hitting that. Again, that's I-20 eastbound around exit 61, Highway 378. And Old Hopkins Road near Thrush Street. 85 for the high today, 88 tomorrow. Then we get into the low 80s for the weekend. Chance for some showers on Saturday and fewer chances for showers on Sunday. And then we'll stay kind of in the low 80s into next week. But currently still kind of nice. 64 right now in the early game.
Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. Nick Harvey from WIS in the studio with us as well after breaking down all of our underdog picks in hour number 2, the early game underdog challenge. You still have until 9 o'clock to submit your picks at 803-404-6100 on the Firehouse Subs text line. Reminder, underdog must win outright to get the points. You get the amount of points that the underdog wins by how many points they are favored to lose by in the game. So you still have until 9 o'clock until we shut that down and lock those in. Yesterday, Coach Beamer spoke. Several of the players spoke as well. And a lot of fun tidbits of information. We didn't even get to this part of it when Luke Doty was speaking yesterday. And he was going through how Nick Harbor has progressed. He compared him to Xavier Leggett in terms of how he practices, not wanting to come out of practice, always giving it 100%, and really being a leader by example when it comes to practices. Nick Harbor was asked about that. Cut 23 here, Jen. Nick Harbor was asked about adopting Xavier Leggett's work ethic.
And that whole 2023 season, I think it was, just mental reps of like how he practiced, how he, he worked in the film room, he worked off the field, and I just took that into my own and just elevated myself from that. Like, you seen Zay go from, not being a guy talked about to, the last pick in the first round, and that's crazy. Like, just the work ethic that he put into that, I just put into myself. So every day, no matter how tired you are, no matter what's going on, you got to play full speed, worry about the rest later, and that's his mentality. So that's how I took on upon myself.
So I'd say of anybody that you can look up to in terms of how they practiced and how they got themselves to progress from a special teams player to somebody who fulfilled the potential that was obvious to everyone when watching him play as a wide receiver, I think Xavier Leggett's maybe one of the best people that you can look at in terms of fulfilling your potential that Nick Harbor had when he was coming out of high school.
This is another concept about culture. You see the guy that's in front of you. You see him go pro. You see him do the things. You see him get the spoils and the riches of being a pro. You're like, oh, that could be me. Because if you remember last year, Xavier Leggett, or 2 years ago, Xavier Leggett talked about how Debo was that for him. How he saw Debo do all those things and saw Debo go pro, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, man, I can do that. And so it just builds upon itself, and that's why it's always important to get more pros in your program, because guys start to think they can go pro. You see it, you can be it. You see that guy go pro, you're like, I practice with him every day. I can do that too. And you start to adapt those habits, so that's really cool.
And it becomes a much easier selling point at that point in time. Nick, when we have talked about Nick Harbor, a lot of it is kind of fulfilling that potential. And you saw what he did in the last 6 weeks of last season. And now you're seeing a full off season and how much confidence he has that he can take that next step, because a lot of people are asking, when will the Nick Harbor thing pop at the level that it was expected to when he initially came to campus in 2023?
Well, again, with a full off season of work and learning technique and how to fight off coverage and break on routes as far as it goes, like I think you're talking about a guy who could be dangerous now with a full off season of catching footballs throughout the entire summer and in the weight room. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures. Like, those guys post their pictures before the summer and after the summer when they do the workouts. Unbelievable. Like, it just genuinely blows my mind what the strength and performance staff is doing at South Carolina right now. But again, a whole summer of film study and getting better as a football player individually, as long as he's made strides with catching the ball and going up for tight but contested battles, you know, in the corners and the end zone, like stuff like that. I think this could be the year where you see Nick Harbor, wide receiver 1, with remnants of like pieces of Xavier Legette, guys like that. Like if he emulates that style whatsoever, it's going to be so much fun to watch.
And it gives you a clear wide receiver 1 option, and you like the depth in that wide receiver room. Like here's one of the things too about Xavier Legette. He was so dominant that defenses would sell out to stop him. You just didn't maybe have enough wide receiver depth to be able to take advantage of that. If Nick Harbor has something that mirrors that level of production and reliability, once you get close into games, if you have someone you need to get the ball to, you make sure you get the ball to 8, or if they sell out, you can be able to find an underneath route with Mazeo Bennett, who's so good at finding, you know, the crevices in a defense to be able to get himself open for a big third down. If defenses are completely selling themselves out to stop Nick Harbor, that's how you get a complete passing game.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want to have. I always like having a clear defined 1, but then also you have other guys who can bring it up and put stress on defense. We talked about all those different coverages. Well, if you're rolling coverages specific ways to try and stop guys, or you're trying to bracket dudes because he's dominant, your other guys can start to make plays, and you make defenses have to pick and choose what they're going to do. And so that's why you want to have more guys that can make plays.
And that is what makes the offense complete as a whole. I think that's one way that this offense is maybe better prepared going into this season than last season. Jen, for this one, can we get cut number 18? Because this is Luke Doty when he spoke yesterday, comparing this offense's readiness and ability to maybe avoid some week 1-iness going into the opening game compared to the other 5 seasons that he's had preparing for a season.
Yeah, I think we've done a lot of, we've probably done more preparation from the start of the year till right now than, that I've probably ever done, as an offense. Even in the winter when we're doing workouts, we had already started that process of kind of, trying to earn the right to be called an offense, as Coach Shula says. And I feel like we've done that, not only through the winter, spring, summer, through camp, but, it's something that we pride ourselves on in doing every single day. We earn the right to be called an offense every single day by the way we prepare, show up to meetings, practice, all that stuff. That kind of gives us confidence going into what would be, I guess, Sunday this week. So, we're really excited. We're ready to go, and just fired up for the opportunity.
And to me, that tells me that they may be more prepared in the totality of the year. Because when I asked Luke Doty that, I kind of wanted to pick his brain a little bit on, look, this is year number 6 for you. You have seen different offensive coordinators. You have seen different quarterbacks. You have seen completely different groups of offensive linemen and personalities go through that door.
Been in the game a long time.
You have seen different offensive identities and different levels of readiness going into week 1. I do find it interesting that he feels more confident in their preparation over what they've done, not just through camp, but from the winter to the spring and now to the summer.
I like the idea of Coach Shula saying that they have to earn the right to be called an offense, because I can only imagine what the other side of that was when they were, maybe the ball's hitting the ground or they're fumbling. I wonder what he's calling them then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we already know what he does to their desk whenever something pops up on tape that he doesn't like, right? We've already gotten that established.
You guys can't even be considered an offense yet. Oh man, that gets me a little tingly. I like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
If we've learned anything, I guess, in this camp process, it's that Mike Shula has kind of fancied himself as a master motivator here. And I like that a lot. Nick, you look at this offense right now, too, and you hear Luke say that. Given his time here at South Carolina, how would you kind of maybe gauge what this offense should be going into a game against Virginia Tech, especially considering there's so much unknown about what their defense is?
I think with a little bit more focus specifically on the offensive line, and it's something that's been talked about over the past couple weeks by a lot of different people, but when you're returning guys who at some point or another throughout the season last year had started in a game or got significant playing time, you expect a little bit more readiness from your offensive front. Those 5 guys up front have to be ready, especially with the Virginia Tech defensive line that, I think has something to prove this weekend. But with all these young guys for South Carolina, as well as they developed throughout the season last year, they have something to prove in that they didn't digress through the offseason. They've got a lot better, and they're ready to punch somebody in the mouth.
You got to take that next step. We saw a lot of progression last year, and especially from players that are going to play this year. Josiah Thompson's the first one that comes to mind. He's the left tackle. He is going to be the starting left tackle. Even without a depth chart, I don't even think that speculation is considered reckless. I think that is basically the fact going into the season that Josiah Thompson is your starting left tackle. He'll be squaring off against a guy in Ben Bell who's been playing college football for 5 seasons, lastly at Texas State, and has 20 sacks to his name in his college football career, and that was a guy last year who wreaked a lot of havoc when he was on the field.
He's looking to make some money too.
He is,
right. He's looking to put his name on the board, make some money. He hasn't played on this big of a stage in his career. He's probably been chomping at the bit, saying, "Man, I can play against all of those dudes, and I'm stuck down here at Texas State, right?"
It was Texas State. He was in the Fun Belt.
So he's watching all these teams, and he's saying, "Man, I can play against those dudes. This is my time." So he's going to be ready to go for sure.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big challenge for Josiah, too, because he is a pretty aggressive rusher.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say, too, though. At the same time, from like anybody who's played as an offensive lineman, especially Josiah Thompson, who came in and made an immediate impact last year for South Carolina, spot the ball. Show me what you got. Let's see what happens on play 1, and then play 2, and play 3, and play 4. Because if you're an offensive lineman, the mindset is no matter what, no matter how late it is, I'm coming.
Yeah,
and I can't wait, man. There's nothing like I got the
see the fire
goosebumps now,
you don't
man.
see
I'm
people get that excited about O-line talk.
I love it. I love it when the trenches are popping, man. There's nothing better.
And that's where South Carolina is going to have to win some games
Absolutely.
this year too. That's the thing. You look back at 2023. It's what kept you out of bowl contention, right? You weren't going to win a national championship or the SEC, but it kept you out of a goal of at least getting to a bowl game and building upon a successful season you had at the end of 2022. 2024, you saw the offensive line still not be impressive, but again, getting better throughout the season. The intrigue now is how the interior offensive line plays. If Shed Surratt has to play as a freshman, which Preston has already put him in on the interior line as a starter.
There is no depth chart, so I'm recklessly speculating.
Yes, we can speculate Shed Surratt starting. It's potentially, we'll know 28 minutes before kickoff, I guess, for the absolute finality of who the starters are on the offensive line. But that is a unit, too, that the interior part hasn't played as a unit in an actual game. They've played in 2 exhibition scrimmages against their own defense. They have been in camp now for, 3-4 weeks. A lot of them were here in the spring. That's like, if we're looking at things that are X factors in this game, South Carolina's offensive line is probably the biggest one for this unit, because they're also going to be the deciding factors to whether or not the run game is going to be successful in a game like this too.
Well, we talked about, we've been, obviously we put so much attention on Rasul Faison being granted eligibility, being able to come back and play, and that's awesome. However,
if no one's blocking, it's going to be hard.
Very difficult. And as an old lineman, because old linemen are always old linemen, right? That's always the attitude that you have. You all take it as upon yourselves that it doesn't matter who's running back there. We're opening the hole, right?
There's going to be a gap.
Right.
You got to find a gap.
And you can't force your running back to have to be Barry Sanders, which is being essentially offensive lineman proof, and not many running backs are, especially at the collegiate level. But there is a plague in college football. It's a trend that is maybe one of the ugliest. And I think for all fans of all ages, it makes you want to pull your hair out. Well, someone took a deep dive and studied this just a little bit further. We'll tell you what that is when the early game continues.
Eugene near Blossom Street. We do have a report of an accident there, Bush River Road at Westcott Road. Also, still might be something in the highway I-20 eastbound around Highway 378. There's a report there's a ladder in the road. Hopefully they're getting that moved quickly, but just kind of keep your eyes open a little bit more. Spears Creek Church Road at I-20. 85 for the high today, 88 tomorrow, 63 right now on the early game.
So tomorrow, the early game will be at Darlington. The Schroeder's Towing Roadshow heads over to Darlington Raceway as we will be live, as well as Tyler Head and Jack Veltri and the Extra Point. So from 6 to noon tomorrow, we'll be live from Darlington Raceway, meaning that this show right here, these last 3 segments, are our last in studio until a South Carolina football game. Let that one sink in. This is the last time we'll be doing a show. The next time we do a show in studio will be Monday when we recap
and we'll
what
all
happened
be
in
dragging getting in here because you'll be coming from Atlanta.
I won't get home until like 2 a.m. I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to stay up.
Okay, we'll see, and that's probably where I'm going to be because I'll be at Darlington.
Yeah.
I'm going to be trying to watch the game from there
Football
and then coming
overdose. It's going to be like
so we're going to be zombies.
eyes wide open, trying to just watch more football.
Yeah, my plan is I'm just getting back. I'm making a lot of coffee, and I'm rewatching South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and then I will try to watch as much of Notre Dame, Miami, because I'll miss a lot of it just because of what I do after games. So I'll try to catch that. I'll maybe like watch the condensed 20-minute version of that game. So that I'm just like, if I go to sleep at 2 a.m., I'm not getting back up at 4. That's not happening. So your boy will be pulling it all nighter. I think all of us will be too from football overdose and from coming back from the raceway. Yeah, so it's going to be. We'll be running on adrenaline and hopefully excitement.
But we expect you, if you are off, because a lot of people might be off on Monday.
Yeah, hang out.
Please still hang out with it. You can be in your pajamas. It's okay. But, if we're going to
I might come here in my
suffer
pajamas.
through.
Yeah.
We could have a theme show.
Oh, even though I do have pajama pants, I don't wear them as frequently until, winter rolls around. But I definitely am a basketball shorts and T-shirt type sleeper. But we can make that happen.
That actually could be fun. Slumber party.
We'll have the game slumber party. And then, of course, tomorrow at 7 p.m., the Cotman Transmission High School Football Scoreboard Show with myself and Justin Hall. So much football this weekend. It's not even funny. But when you watch the football this weekend, pay attention to how many teams get to the 1-yard line and line up in the shotgun. I can already see the disappointment in Preston Thorne's face.
I just know this drives everybody crazy. This is one thing we can all unite on. We're divided on everything else, but when a team gets in shotgun on the 2-yard line, unanimously everybody says, "No!
What are you doing?
What are we doing?"
Makes you want to pull your hair out, right? So Chase Goodbread, which, incredible name.
Nice name.
And did the Lord's work for us. Chase Goodbread writes for the Tuscaloosa News at TuscaloosaNews.com, did a little bit of a study as to how successful teams are when they go under center at the opposing team's goal line, and how successful are they when they go out of the shotgun, and how frequently do we see this? We feel like we see it all the time, but do our eyes match what the data tells us? So he studied 15 different teams in Power Conference football last year. Alabama, Arizona State, Boise State, Clemson, Georgia, Indiana, LSU, Miami, Michigan, Missouri, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Penn State, and Texas. And he did the study. So here's from the story. He says, from the opponent's 1-yard line, those teams scored on just 56% of shotgun snaps, compared to a 73% touchdown rate from under center. Yet, despite that disparity, offensive coordinators called the shotgun formation more often. 90 snaps from the shotgun look versus 72 from under center. So our eyes do confirm our priors, or the number does confirm our priors that our eyes tell us that teams are, at least at the higher FBS level, lining up from the shotgun more on the goal line. And it's also telling us they are scoring less, 56% to 73%. this sounds duh in theory, but it's nice to see somebody do the work to confirm what we all know, that going under center, way more efficient when you get down to the 1 or 2 yard line of the opponent's end of the field than it is lining up in the shotgun.
So there's no excuse for this in college football. I can speak to high school football that sometimes you're just under a time constraint, and if you haven't practiced taking snaps under center, that's not where you want to just go on the center when it's that important. So a lot of times the center quarterback exchange has not been repped or practiced enough to where you feel confident about it. That being said, that should not be an excuse in Division I college football prime time. You should be able to take a snap. You see what I'm saying? But as an offensive lineman, it doesn't change for you specifically, but that's the only thing that I can think of.
Well, and I don't disagree with that. I think it's tough because if you're under center, like, it depends on also the snap count. Are you going to go with a silent snap count, which means the quarterback is literally getting under center, he's giving you a little tap, and the center's snapping the ball? Like, and that's all there is to it. Like, if the center's not ready for that, then it's and then that means also that the rest
a little jarring. Yeah,
it is.
Hey, buy me a drink first, buddy.
But that also means that the rest of the offensive line has to be prepared to watch the ball move. Like, you're at that point, everyone else on the line and in those tight, like, all down, they call it some people call it the meat package, when you put all of your weight right on the front, and literally it's just a bunch of dudes that are trying to put the ball in the end zone, right? But like, at the end of the day, if you get there and everybody else is used to a snap count, they can hear the quarterback, things like that, and that's going to throw them off, because at that point you're at the same as a defensive lineman. You have to watch the ball. And if a defensive lineman's been doing it the entire game and gets a better jump than it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well.
Also, as a defensive lineman, I'm 100% cheating inside the 3 yard line.
Right.
I'm guessing, because if I get called for offsides,
what's the penalty?
It's half the distance to the goal. So there's another reason why. So that's the only defense I can give as to when this happens inevitably this weekend.
Because it will.
It will happen. I want you in your mind to say, okay, maybe they haven't gone through all those different progressions and all of those things that could go wrong, and they're doing a risk calculation of saying, let's just run our regular plays and hopefully block it up the way we're supposed to, and we can get away with it.
Well, I think also, too, a lot of times I almost wonder if it's not for the variability of trying to pass the ball out of a shotgun set when you're that close, because some teams will do it. Some teams have that kind of confidence that they don't want to run the ball. They're trying to find somebody on a quick out route or something like that, and they need the quarterback to have his room.
That'd be another thing that would drive me crazy on the 1 yard line also.
Right.
But again, it's a whole different concept as your quarterback catching the ball and throwing, as opposed to being under center. Now he has to take a drop. A lot of more variables that maybe you have practiced, maybe you haven't practiced enough. I'm saying very clearly there's no excuse for that at this level of football, but that's some choices that coaches might make.
And from just a philosophical standpoint, too, if you think about where the snap is going, the ball is not going a full yard back when you're going under center. When you go under shotgun, when you go from the shotgun, that ball is going back at least, 5 yards?
3 to 5, yeah.
So now you're trying to score from about the 5 or 6 yard line as opposed to the 1 or 2. The ball's got to go a little bit further. Already, when you're throwing it, it's already going to be in a much tighter space. And whenever you have to, if you run the ball out of it, your running back now has to go twice as far, at least if you're from the 2 and that ball's at the 6, you're going 4 times as long to get into the end zone than you would, or 3 times as long into the end zone than you normally would.
In a tighter space without the threat of being able to stretch the defense vertically, so everybody's packed in the meat package. I love that. I'm going to be stealing that from now on. Yeah, it's very difficult. So I think I'm talking to myself to where I'm like, all right, I can see why you would do it. I don't like it. I see why maybe some offenses would do it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but at the end of the day, I think give me 11 on 11. This is what linemen go through the chute for. When you got those low ceilings and you got a duck walk, or you've got to stay as low as you possibly can. This is what that's for. Give me 11 on 11. Put me 2 guys in the backfield and 9 as close to each other as possible, and let's find out who's got it.
Yeah. Oh, that as
Show
an
me who's
offensive
got
lineman,
it.
Yeah, you dream for.
I want to fight. Let's go.
I am here in Pats for hand-to-hand combat
Absolutely.
here, right? So that's one thing to watch for this weekend. Whenever we start watching ball, how many teams are successful when it comes to going under center or from the shotgun on the other opposing team's goal line?
I mean, that's the thing where the analytics confirm my suspicion, because you said there was almost a 12 to 15% difference.
73% to 56%.
That's significant.
Yeah. I mean, I like the odds. I will take what the odds are telling me, especially if I have an offensive line that I trust, which is a large part of football decision-making process. How much do you trust certain personnel groups and certain players to be able to get something like that done? If I have an offensive line I trust, I see those numbers, I have no reason to go from the shotgun at the opposing team's 1-yard line. Our next guest has played plenty from under center and in the shotgun. Former Georgia quarterback, now ESPN analyst and SiriusXM radio host, Aaron Murray joins us next to discuss his thoughts on Lenora Sellers, the upcoming game against Virginia Tech, and a whole lot more from college football next here in the early game. A whole lot of offensive line talk today, and that roof may be the offensive line to your home or business. And when it comes time to assembling that offensive line, no better way to go than with Midstate Roofing, because if you have a leak, you should let Midstate Roofing take a peek. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing has designed and installed bonded systems, that protective guarantee that keeps your operation dry and running long into the future, offering protection like a great offensive line. And they want to remind you to protect the roof itself with a maintenance contract, like adding an extra great offensive lineman. So give them a call today, 803-356-1919, or online at midstateroofing.com, or if you call, you can talk to a technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing member during hours. Again, that number is 803-356-1919, or always online at midstateroofing.com. And if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Bush River Road at Westcott Road, still working on that earlier slowdown. Also, Hugie near Blossom and Spears Creek Church Road at I-20 has an accident that they're working with to get cleared out of the way for you. And as far as your forecast goes, 85 for today, 88 tomorrow, so that's kind of nice. 81 on Saturday with maybe some showers, lesser chances of showers on Sunday, and a high of 83. Sitting at 64 currently on 107.5 The Game.
We are only 74 and a half hours until toe meets leather in Atlanta. Big game between South Carolina and Virginia Tech. And joining us to discuss that, his evaluation on Lenora Sellers and a whole lot more in college football, our man Aaron Murray, former Georgia quarterback and now an analyst over at ESPN, joins us right now. Aaron, good morning. Good to hear from you. And we're there, man. We're there. A full, exciting week of college football lies ahead.
Oh, yeah. I actually start tonight. I'll be on the call for Missouri hosting Central Arkansas tonight on the SEC network. So it was good to be back on the college campus, sitting down with coaches, talking ball, and just all the excitement of we finally made it through the off season and all the other craziness going on with college football. Now we can just enjoy when toe meets leather here tonight for the SEC game in Missouri. Then obviously a massive weekend, Auburn at Baylor tomorrow, and then just a plethora of games throughout Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Now, Aaron, I understand you're a company man, so you don't have to say anything out of turn here. But how would you have felt as a starting quarterback immediately knowing that you weren't going to play the whole game because you were splitting halves with the other quarterback?
I mean, listen, Eli told us straight up, too. I mean, these guys aren't happy about it. I don't think anyone's happy about it. And it's not just I don't think it's a quarterback position either. I think this is anyone. You work so hard all off season. You went through spring, you went through summer and the heat, the workouts. You went through fall camp. You've been hitting another person on your own team. You just want to hit someone else from a different team. You want to play football, man. This is what we do, man. We work from January, February, whenever your season's done, all those months to get to this point, end of August, beginning of September, to be able to play football, a game that we love, a game that we've played since we're little. And so I think for any position, for a coach to say, hey, man, you're only going to play X amount of snaps, you're going to rotate series, you're going to play X amount of, quarters or a half or whatever it may be, I think it's frustrating for everyone. And if you're not frustrated, to be honest, I don't know what kind of competitor you are. I don't care what the score was when I was playing at Georgia. Like, we could be up by, 30, 40 points, and Bob was like, hey, it's time for you to come out. I'm like, no, give me one more series. Let me get one more touchdown. Let me do this. Like, you want to play football, man. We're football players. So, like I said, Eli did not shy away from that question yesterday when we asked. He's like, yeah, they're not – I don't think anyone's, wanting this situation from especially these guys. They want to be the guy. They believe they're the guy. But at the end of the day, for the betterment of the football team, Coach Drink thinks that they need to see some live action and some live bullets tonight, and then see if they can make a decision before they play Kansas next week.
Aaron, Adam Rittenberg wrote a really fun story on ESPN where he got like the intel on the quarterbacks in all of college football, some of the best in the country. And he had two different sources for the story, tell him two different things about Lenora Sellers, someone we have talked about ad nauseum here at this station. The first one says, quote, Sellers really got hot down the stretch, an SEC coach said. He's such a big, imposing physical kid. Now can he take the next step in the throw game? And the next quote from a different coach, an SEC coach, says, quote, I can't get behind the Lenora Sellers hype. He reminds me of Anthony Richardson, and I know Anthony Richardson went 4th overall in the NFL draft. Physically, he's a freak, but is he a great quarterback? Now, where do you fall and when you evaluate Lenora Sellers kind of on the spectrum of those two different takes?
I lean way more towards the front, and I was not a big fan. I mean, you go back and find old records of this one. I was not a fan of Anthony coming out when he did, and I know it's a lot of money to pass up and going to be a first-round pick, but I did not think he was ready from a quarterback standpoint from just the lack of games being played in college. He just didn't play a lot of football and was banged up a lot. I think for Lenoris, he's going to have 2 full seasons as QB1 and, heck, maybe 3 full seasons as QB1. So the reps will be there for him to have the transition to the pro level. It'd be a little bit easier than Anthony Richardson. But from a pure throwing standpoint, I think he's a really good passer. I don't think he was the problem last year in the pass game. I think the receivers were the problem. Like, everyone always wants to focus so much on the quarterbacks, and I get it. We're the leaders of the football team. We get the more NIL dollars. We get the bigger contracts in today's game. But, you need some guys to throw the ball to. And if you look at South Carolina a year ago, I was happy Mazio Bennett came along and had his moments and obviously had to deal with some injuries. But, when your best guy is just a tight end, and tight ends are great. I love tight ends. I think they're a huge weapon and asset in today's football game. But you need some more guys that can win some one-on-one battles on the outside. And for him last year, that just wasn't the case. This was an offense that had to rely more on his running game, had to rely, obviously, on Rocket doing his thing as well. And I'm hoping this year that the guys on the outside are better. That way you can see him really grow and blossom as a quarterback. But when it comes to just throwing the football and fundamentals of that part of the game, I think he's a good thrower. Maybe he's not a perfect thrower. I think he's a really good thrower of the football. And I think you're going to, if you're a South Carolina fan, you're going to see that all season long.
And then when it comes to this Virginia Tech game, Virginia Tech, I feel like, is one of the more interesting teams to have to prepare for a week one. We've kind of coined the term week one-iness out of the weird stuff that kind of happens in a first game whenever you're still trying to figure out your team, and then with all the roster turnover, figure out someone else. Virginia Tech has a defense with a ton of roster turnover, a team with a ton of roster turnover. When you look at this matchup, what way do you kind of lean?
Well, I definitely lean towards South Carolina. I said Virginia Tech last year in their bowl game, and just prepping for that game with all the turnover they had after the season last year was not fun, and into the postseason. So, I still think I love what Shane's done as a head coach. I think he's a tremendous head coach. I'm excited about Lenoris and that offense. Like I said, Mazio and Nick Harbor, and I remember covering Jaron Brown a few years ago, and just how athletic he is. So hoping year 2 there, and that connection kind of grows as well with the quick slot receiver there. So, I think the offense will be better for South Carolina, and I think those guys will obviously hopefully not perform the way they did last year, week 1. I was actually on that game versus Old Dominion. I actually had an opportunity to cover South Carolina twice, Old Dominion, and then about middle of the season versus Vanderbilt. And to see the offense transform from just being horrendous in that week 1, I mean, it was god-awful, to where they were was great. So I think you'll definitely get a better start offensively. And obviously Lenoris is just more confident heading into year 2. I'm just like you guys. I'm interested to see what this defense looks like. I thought that was one of the best defenses in the SEC a year ago. Obviously, they leaned on that defense as the offense and Lenoris grew. And is Dylan Stewart good enough just to put the defense on his back? Listen, I remember going against South Carolina with a guy named Jadeveon Clowney. And they had the other really good defensive players. I'm not just saying it was a one-man show, but, I mean, I saw firsthand for multiple games, the way you had to prepare for South Carolina and how much he wrecked our game plan and really forced us to, at times, cut off half the field. Like, hey, we can't run that way, or, hey, we got to slide our protection that way. I mean, it really disrupts what an offense can do and what an offense wants to do when you have a guy like that off the edge. So, obviously he is a premier pass rusher. He's one of the best guys in the country, even at a young age. And so, like I said, the comparisons are there. There's no doubt about it. So, yeah, you may be losing a lot at all 3 levels defensively, but I'm telling you, man, one guy like that, especially at that position, can make a huge impact. So excited to see what the rest of those pieces start to look like defensively. But I think South Carolina should take care of business versus Virginia Tech on Sunday.
Absolutely. That's Aaron Murray, analyst for ESPN and Sirius XM and former Georgia quarterback. Aaron, appreciate your time as always. Good luck on the call tonight in Como, and we look forward to talking to you again as the season unveils.
Have a great one, guys. Enjoy yourself.
Appreciate you.
Good stuff there from Aaron. Aaron's, of course, is a winner with us for hanging out with us this morning. We'll give you our winners for today's show, and it can range from a collar all the way to, the meat package? Well, we'll explain what that means to wrap up today's edition of the Early Game. Many barriers when it comes to physical therapy. And that can be the tough thing, can be getting there, right? For a lot of people, the transportation is the hardest part of physical therapy because sometimes your ailment, whether it be a chronic injury, maybe it's recovering from surgery, no matter what it is, sometimes that transportation can be the hardest part. And with Vertex PT Specialists, they bring the physical therapy to you, skilled physical therapy that's delivered right to your door. So if you need physical therapy and prefer staying home, they're here for you. And they also serve Lexington and Richland counties. 803-973-0100. Again, 803-973-0100. And let Vertex PT Specialists bring that recovery to you. We want winners like Mike Singletary, and we have plenty to choose from today. And I'll start us off with my man Rodney, who called in and said it is weak that we don't have a depth chart. And, what is he? I'm tired of being the dog that's sniffing other dogs' butts.
Yep.
Because Kirby and Davo didn't do it last year.
Yeah, also from the man who said, show me your piece and I'll show you mine.
And let's play football.
I
love it. I mean, not often we ready to actually play football ourselves here in the studio before 7 a.m. Rodney brought it.
Shout out to Rodney.
Rodney, you're a winner on today's show. Good sir.
I'd like to give a shout out to Travis Bell. Who's Travis Bell? Travis Bell is the photographer of what I think is the most iconic photo in South Carolina history, and that is the Jadeveon Clowney jumping over somebody who was trying to cut block him. I think that's what was going on.
That's
here,
what it looks like in
to
that photo.
sack Aaron Murray. So I didn't get a chance to bring it up to Aaron, but this is, I think, my favorite photo in South Carolina history, and Aaron Murray was a part of it, JD. But most importantly, Travis Bell, you are a winner for taking this picture.
Fantastic photo. Fantastic photo. Another winner for today's show because Nick Harvey from WIS is in the studio representing them for the Underdog Challenge. Nick, I think we have to give a winner to the meat package.
I don't see why not. I mean, it's one of the most iconic names that I've ever heard for a formation. But it's also like, I don't know, it gets you a little juiced up. When you tell somebody that you're bringing all of the biggest dudes on your team out to punch a ball into the end zone, man, come on.
Get the biggest, beefiest boys out there.
And then it just makes me think of there's a band way back when called the Meat Puppets.
The Meat Puppets?
Yes.
So it's like now I'm just, my mind is reeling with ideas after learning that.
We could get meatloaf.
Meatloaf, there you go.
Meatloaf going.
Yep.
Really quickly, you expounded on something in the break. We always talk about offensive linemen having their own language. Can you give us some of the language for the meat package?
Yeah, so when we have combo blocks, if your center guard combo is blocking the A block, that was Arby's.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going into the B block for a gap scheme where you're combo in there, Burger King.
Nice.
The C block doubled. We had Chick-fil-A, but the more popular term was cookout.
So you could be in the line and you just be there and say, cookout, cookout.
They were just people, exactly like that. It just cookout. And then that guy has no idea what's happening other than the two fat guys across from him are hungry.
That's
all you need to know. It's all you need to know.
I love it. Love it.
Oh, yeah, that even more furthers the lore there. Another winner for me today, Nick Harbor. We talked about him a lot. This is one. So much of the discussion is with the quarterback, and Aaron Murray kind of discussed that a little bit too about how much when we talk about the discourse of offense, it begins and ends with a quarterback. But I think Lenora Seller's best friend this year can be a deep threat, and somebody who has slowly been developing over the course of the last 2 years now has a full offseason. And everybody you asked yesterday, whether it was Coach Beamer, whether it was Nick himself, whether it was Luke Doty, all talked about the evolution of Nick Harbor. And I think out of all the things I'm excited to see about the South Carolina football team in 2025, Nick Harbor is very high on that list.
It's going to be exciting to watch, man. Like I said, he doesn't lack confidence, and now he feels like he's put the work in behind the confidence that he already had. This could be a potential of a very beginning of a very special season for him.
It very well could be. And I think another winner, too, before we get out of here, the studio. You know why? Because this is the last time that we're going to be sitting in this studio talking about this game before it's played. Because, again, tomorrow we are at Darlington Raceway from 6 until noon tomorrow, because Tyler Head and the Extra Point will also be live from Darlington Raceway. The next time that we are sitting in these seats, my friends, we will be reacting to a football game. The off season for us in this studio ends right now. That's how close we are to football season.
We made it. We made it.
And then, of course, another winter college football for tonight. We have an SEC football game tonight.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize Missouri was playing tonight until Aaron said that.
Because it's barely an SEC game.
That's it's very true.
Missouri's good. I'm not saying Missouri's barely an SEC team, but they're playing Central Arkansas, and the only way you can get me to be interested in Central Arkansas is if Scottie Pippen regained some eligibility and played football.
I think I might have my Arkansas mixed up. Butch Jones was Arkansas
State.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I got my directional schools.
The Wolves, right?
Yeah.
A man who will be at Taylor Swift's wedding, a sentence that you never thought, 10 years ago, you would not have ever thought was remotely possible.
True champion of life.
A true champion of life. I guess it's the perks of coaching the Kelsey brothers. at Cincinnati.
What a time.
So he will be. He's already said he's on the phone with them. So he will be a guest of honor there at that ceremony, one of the most popular weddings, I guess, in the history of America at that point. Who would have thought? Butch Jones. But again, tomorrow, 6 a.m. up until noon, the game will be live from Darlington Raceway. We'll talk to you then tomorrow morning, bright and early, as we get ready for weekend. And as much football as we're going to enjoy over the weekend, it'll be really hard to enjoy that football if you have a leak, right? That can put a damper on things. So if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek, because for nearly 30 years, Midstate Roofing has been the leader and the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Doesn't matter if it's high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs those bonded systems with that protective guarantee that's going to keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So whether it's your business or your home, you can enjoy